Right, welcome to Thursday evening breathing buddies on the 12th of December. So if you've just joined, then tonight we are going to be doing a lot of down-regulating exercises, kind of just get us into the evening, not put any stresses on the body, see if we can warm ourselves up, breathe a little lighter, breathe a little slower, breathe a little deeper. This is all the fundamentals of the oxygen advantage method for restoring functional breathing. So we're going to begin with the recovery breath, also called the many small breath holds. So throughout these exercises, always going to be trying to breathe using our nose, in and out through the nose, if at all possible. Hopefully, if you're a bit congested, just the process of going through these exercises will help. And when I ask you to pinch your nose at any time, it's best not to actually squeeze your nostrils, but actually just block them with your fingers. Is the best option. So recovery breath. The instruction for this is, and I'll guide this several times, is to breathe in through your nose, then out through your nose, then to pinch your nose, and you hold your breath for 5 seconds, which I'll count down, and then you breathe normally for a few breaths. And then we just go round that cycle several times. So when we're ready, exhale, then breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then breathe normally through your nose 2 or 3 times. This is a catch-all exercise. It's a really good exercise to practice several times a day. It has lots of very useful functions for our breathing and sense of well-being. So when you're ready, we'll go again. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathe normally through your nose a few times. So this really helps to normalize breathing volume on a per breath basis, but also over a longer period of time. When we get stressed or when we're ill, we can start to breathe more shallowly than is useful, or we can kind of hold the breath and hold tension in the body. And this kind of helps to release that tension and get things back to normal. So when we're ready again, breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then breathe normally through your nose a few times. And when we breathe through our noses, it stimulates the production of a gas called nitric oxide in the paranasal sinuses. And nitric oxide is very useful for keeping our breathing apparatus open and clear, and making the gas exchange in the lungs more efficient. So when we're ready, we'll go again. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and breathe normally through your nose a few times. So your nitric oxide is vasodilator, opens up the airways in the lungs. Sorry, opens up causes the blood vessels to dilate in the lungs, and it's also a bronchodilator, opens up the airways and just helps with the gas exchange. It helps the air get lower and deeper into the lungs, where all the prime real estate is. Helps to open up the airways around the nose itself as well. So when you're ready, breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and breathe normally through your nose a few times. It's also antiviral, it's antibacterial, and it's an antihistamine. It's a bit of a kind of wonder gas, really. It exists in a very tiny quantities, you're measuring parts per billion. But if you breathe through your mouth, you get much less access to it. It's produced in much lower quantities. So it's really important to try to breathe through your nose at rest, during exercise, and also when you sleep. So when you're ready again, breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, and pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and breathe normally through your nose again. When we do anything where we restrict the breathing, such as just holding our breath for a few seconds, we are helping the body by causing carbon dioxide levels just to move to increase just a little bit. We're just getting a teaspoon full of carbon dioxide, and this has some fantastic effects on the body. So when you're ready, try again. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and breathe normally through your nose. I'll get into talking about carbon dioxide in just a minute, but one of the things it helps to do, again, is to improve the flow of air as it's coming in through your nose. We sometimes do the nose clearing exercise where we nod our heads. We're not going to do that today because it can be a bit of an up regulator. But just practicing this exercise can help to open up the nose, but in a more gentle way. So we'll do it one more time. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And pinch your nose and hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathing normally through your nose. Okay, we're going to move now to the breathe light exercise. So start with one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly just above your navel, just so you can feel the diaphragm as it's moving in and out. If you feel comfortable, perhaps now is the time to close your eyes. Make this practice a bit more introspective. First of all, just notice. How are you breathing right now? How do you feel? Don't change anything about it. Even just the act of stopping for a second like this can help us to feel a little more calm, a little more relaxed. So just feel the slightly cooler air as it enters your nostrils. Slightly warmer air as it leaves your nostrils. The nose performs over 30 functions related to breathing. One week, I might list them all. Not this week. But the mouth doesn't perform any functions related to breathing. So as we feel the colder air enter the nostrils, it's then conditioned. It's raised or lowered to the right temperature. It's cleaned, filtered, to get it into the ideal state for gas exchange in the lungs. We then exhale slightly warmer air. So now that you're aware of your breath, perhaps a little more than you were a few minutes ago, a very simple instruction for this exercise is to try to breathe a little bit less air. So try at first to see if you can reduce the amount of air you're breathing to about 70% of whatever is a normal breath for you. And what we're trying to do here is to cultivate a little bit of air hunger. So as a reminder, air hunger is that feeling that you would like to be breathing a little bit more air. It exists on a scale from very mild through to very, very strong. The air hunger we're looking for in this exercise should be definitely present, but tolerable. If you can find that kind of that liminal edge right where, from where it feels perfectly comfortable to just a little bit uncomfortable. And again now, sure. Concentrating on the movement of air through your nose and breathing a little bit less air. Can you reduce the volume of air you're breathing a little bit more? If you're feeling that tolerable amount of air hunger, that's valuable feedback that you are performing the exercise correctly. The first tricky bit about this exercise that has such a simple instruction is to find the air hunger. The second more difficult part of the exercise is to kind of hang with that feeling, to surf the wave of the air hunger. Don't let it wash over you to a point where you are feeling anxious or where your breathing becomes erratic. If that happens, you just need to take a step back, breathe normally for about 30 seconds or so, then come back to the exercise. But also, we want to be along for the ride. You don't want to sit behind the wave. So if you're not feeling the air hunger, you can try just covering one nostril. Don't change anything else, but cover one nostril. And by reducing essentially the size of the holes that we're letting the air into your body, that can be a very useful way of getting to that edge of air hunger that we're looking for. Now, when we breathe a bit less air, we're allowing the concentration of carbon dioxide, the byproduct of the metabolic processes that are going on in your cells to create energy. We're letting the concentration increase. Most of us are over-breathing most of the time. We breathe out too much carbon dioxide, and that causes blood vessels to constrict. Constricted blood vessels lead to poor delivery of blood to the tissues and organs and muscles. And also carbon dioxide is the catalyst that allows or helps oxygen be released from hemoglobin. So when we practice an exercise like this where we restrict the breath in a controlled fashion, we find the air hunger, what we're actually feeling is this increase in carbon dioxide. And you're just playing with your body's natural urge to want to breathe more when carbon dioxide levels increase. It's exactly what happens if we exercise. The muscles that are being exercised kick out more carbon dioxide, and we end up breathing faster to get rid of that carbon dioxide. So we're just taking control of that function of the body now. And the increased amounts of carbon dioxide cause blood vessels to dilate. You might now start feeling your hands getting a bit warmer, maybe if you're lucky even your feet getting a bit warmer. My feet are a long way from the rest of my body, so it takes a long time for that to work for me. But also, you're increasing the blood supply and oxygen delivery to the brain. That helps us to feel calm and focused. And that's great in the evening, but it's also great during the day. If we can find a way to spend some time each day breathing a little bit less air, then we can reduce the feelings of stress we might have, and we can find new ways of cultivating some focus and concentration. So now, without breaking away too much from the state that you're feeling, you can relax your hands, just let your breathing normalize a little bit, taking the effort out of what you've been doing. And we're going to move on to breathe deep. So I'd like to, just to begin with this exercise, to sit with your hands on your lower two ribs. Now, if you've done this before, you'll know what we're looking for. We're looking for that feeling of, as well as the diaphragm moving down and pushing the belly out, so getting the air low into the lungs. We're also looking for this lateral movement. So on each inhalation, you should feel your ribs expanding out to the sides. And each exhalation, they contract inwards. So as we breathe, as we inhale, the diaphragm contracts and moves downwards, and this causes the body to move in 360 degrees. The belly moves out to the front, the ribs expand to the side and to the back. Ideally, this is where 90%, 95% of the movement should be. If you notice your shoulders moving, or if you had your hand on your chest and you could feel very noticeably your chest moving up and down, it can be a sign that maybe you need to practice this exercise a little bit more. Perhaps even look at yourself breathing, and look in a mirror while you're doing this, to see if your shoulders are moving, if your chest's moving, and get a bit of visual feedback to see if you can reduce that movement. When we breathe into the upper chest and in the shoulders, it evokes a stress response. We end up breathing harder and faster. Gas exchange is worse. When we breathe low and deep into the bottom of the lungs, fuller breaths, but fewer of them, it helps us to feel calm. It calms the emotions, and it calms the body. Now, if you're nice and aware of that movement now, you can relax your arms, maybe rest them on your laps, wherever feels comfortable. We're going to add in the next piece of the puzzle now, which is breathing slow. So keep concentrating on breathing deep into the bottom of the lungs, feeling that movement of the ribs. Lateral movement as you inhale and exhale. Now I'm going to count for a while so that we have an inhalation at the count of 4 and an exhalation at the count of 6, and then a pause at the end. After a little while, I'll drop the count of the pause, then I'll drop the counting altogether. When we breathe at around about 60 breaths per minute, 6 breaths per minute. We breathe at around 60 breaths per minute, we have a panic attack. When we breathe at around 6 breaths per minute, well, studies have found that is the optimal breathing rate for most people for feeling a sense of calm. For some people, if you're bigger or if you've been practicing this kind of thing for a while, it can go a bit slower. But we're going to go around about a count per second. So we need to get in sync here. So if you want to exhale all the air and then breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. Now carry on at your own pace. The important thing here is to make the exhalation longer than the inhalation, and a little pause at the end. And this is the ideal shape of a breath at rest. The inhalation slightly shorter than the exhalation, and a pause at the end. And the more you train with these methods of hypercapnic breath work, of higher carbon dioxide, the longer you can make your exhalation, the longer the pause will be at the end, because your body's just more tolerant to that buildup of carbon dioxide. You can start to notice a few things about your body as you get used to these exercises as well. If you've done this before and then you find it one week, first, you might find it more difficult for some reason, that air hunger arrives much sooner than you're expecting, it's harder to deal with. That can be a sign something's going on in your body. When we get ill, when there's inflammation in the body, it plays around with the pH of the blood, which is exactly what's happening when we let carbon dioxide build up in the blood. And that can make these exercises slightly more difficult. So it can be a telltale sign that maybe there's illness on the horizon. You need to take a little bit more care. Now, what I'd like you to do now is we're going to bring everything together. So as you're breathing deep, maintaining this slow breath, can you also breathe a little bit less air? Can you get back to that feeling of tolerable air hunger? So maybe start with that goal of breathing about 70% of the air that you are currently. Now, practicing these exercises, say, it's good for the concentration, focus, circulation, general respiratory health. It's also really good for several aspects of sleep hygiene. And a couple of people get in touch with me after last week's session to say they slept well afterwards, which is great. It's exactly what we'd be looking for. And creating a little bit of air hunger in the evening can help us get to sleep because it relaxes the mind and the body. And it can help us to stay asleep or get back to sleep more easily if we stir at night. It's really useful as well for helping if you happen to be a snorer. Snoring is is, well, there's a few things going on, but it's usually that the mouth's open. You need to try and keep the mouth shut, but then people, if they've been used to breathing through their mouth at night, start to feel like they're suffocating. So if you can train yourself during the waking hours to tolerate that feeling of air hunger to a greater degree, then it makes breathing through the nose at night much easier. And if you're congested at night, sometimes if we've got a cold and it just feels very difficult to breathe through the nose, you can sometimes feel like you want to be trying to breathe a lot more air, but really you don't need to. As we've seen, you can breathe less air, you can really restrict the air and still feel very comfortable. You just need to train your body to feel more comfortable in the presence of the carbon dioxide. So if this feels good now, can you think of how you might incorporate some kind of breathing practice into your daily routine? Could you find a few moments a day to breathe a little less air? It doesn't need to mean sitting down for 20 minutes. You can practice the recovery breath while you're watching TV, while you're sat in bed, first thing in the morning when you wake up. You can do little breath holds while you're out walking. It can be very simple. Just hold your breath for 5 or 6 steps. Carry on walking, breathe normally for a while. Hold your breath for a few steps. Just get to the edge of that air hunger feeling again and play with that. Okay. When you're ready, you can drop the exercise. Just let your body breathe however it wants to for a couple of breaths. And then, if you haven't already, you can open your eyes. Thank you for coming along this evening and sharing this practice with me.